Welcome to EPG Pathshala. Dear students, today we would be discussing the module. The name of the module is the planned cities in the post-independence times, part 2. So the learning objectives of this module is to understand the how these cities were developed. Um, it's a continuation of the earlier module. So how these cities, few other cities, how they were developed and planned in in India. Basically, these planned cities are those examples which are from India, and so we start with Navi Mumbai. Navi Mumbai is was planned as a satellite town, and as we can understand, the name says that it is the new Mumbai, and it was developed on the eastern side of of Mumbai, of the mainland of Mumbai, eastern part of the mainland of Mumbai, and it is brownfield development. And as the brownfield development means that the land which is has been previously used or has subsequently become vacant, derelict, or contaminated, and this is the opposite of greenfield land, and the concept of this Navi Mumbai was that, as we all know, Mumbai was congested, and there was a demand for more land, more housing, more services, a certain level of services. So therefore Navi Mumbai was planned as a satellite town, and it was polycentric pattern of development. It ensured the balanced land and even distribution of various facilities. Now, the main concept or the objective was environment protection. So there was the green expanse which was reserved, and therefore this green expanse was planned to ensure that the city does not turn into a concrete jungle. And as you can see in this drawing, it is connected. The mainland Mumbai is connected to Navi Mumbai via bridges, because it is across the water body on the eastern side, and as we go ahead towards the Navi Mumbai plan, we see that there are industries planned, there's residential areas, there are reserved green areas, and so this was what was the concept of the Navi Mumbai plan. Now, who planned or who designed or who came forth with this plan, we will come a little later. But before that, we have to say that there is no preset development plan, and therefore CIDCO, which is the City and Industrial Development Corporation, the organization which governs this the satellite town of Navi Mumbai, they can change their development strategy accordingly. So the mainland area developed as multi-nucleated nodes or settlements, and each node was smaller in size than 2.5 lakhs population, and the distribution of nodes was varied than as planned. Now, in figure 7 shows the distribution of nodes in the original plan, and figure 6 shows the existing planned nodes. So that was the change which which SIDCO brought in and to the plan. Now, as I was referring to, who planned or who was responsible for developing Navi Mumbai? It was Charles Correa, who renowned architect and planner, who put forth this plan idea of development on the eastern side or in Navi Mumbai, and he planned for Navi Mumbai, and therefore we see that there was this connectivity. If you see the nodes, all these nodes are connected by mass transit areas, and the nodes were divided further into small units, that is called sectors, and the city treated its sewage before discharging it into the water channels, and the storm water drains were designed keeping in mind the high rainfall. Now, as contrasted, this is the recent floods of Mumbai is a contrast to this part of Mumbai, that is Navi Mumbai, where waterlogging has increased in the mainland, but Navi Mumbai has the stormwater drains in place, the stormwater drainage system in place in order to let the water drain off, even if in case of high rainfall, as Mumbai is prone to high rainfall. Now, the next city which next planned city which we will be discussing is Noida, which is an acronym for New Okla Industrial Development Authority, which came up in Uttar Pradesh and adjoining to the city of the National Capital Territory of Delhi, and it was developed as an industrial town, and it was planned in the year 1976 with a design population of 5 lakhs and with an area of 3,360 hectares, and it was planned by the New Okla Industrial Development Authority. You can see in this figure the view of Noida, and the location of Noida is given in figure 2 in the map of India, and also in this slide you can see the land use map of Noida, where there is this industrial area, residential area, commercial area, recreational area, public and semi-public uses are given. And the area on which this city was developed was formerly part of the Yamuna river basin, and it had been reclaimed by constructing embankments along the river. The city has a long triangular shape with the rivers Yamuna and the Hindan. They are actually both these rivers, the Yamuna and the Hindan, form the natural barriers, and then there is this national highway which forms a man-made barrier. So therefore it gets its shape from these natural as well as man-made barriers, and as you can see in this figure, and the riverfronts were exclusively used for major regional and city level recreational facilities, and it was planned on a grid iron pattern. Again, this grid iron planning was there. The city was divided into various sectors, and it was planned or conceived, this township was planned or conceived as a self-contained integrated township. And it was a predominantly road-based internal or road-based movement, with a road-based movement pattern, with major roads being planned from southwest to northeast. So there were, as you can see, there was this expressways which is planned from Delhi to towards Greater Noida, and the river Yamuna, the river Hindon, all are shown in the map. And the low intensity of activities are provided in the southern extension in the area between the expressway and the river Hindon. The expressway is showed here, and so this is about Noida, and Noida also has education, research institutions, office areas which have been placed along the expressway to capitalize on its on the benefits of a corridor, a major transport corridor, and commercial centers are proposed on the junction of major arterial roads, as you can see in this figure. And there are free-flowing green spaces running linearly in a north-south direction, more or less centrally through the city. So there, apart from uses like residential, industrial, commercial, and transport uses, there uses and roads. We also see that there were free-flowing green spaces, and within the sectors also we can see these green spaces. So at the city level also there are green spaces, but at the sector level also we have these green spaces. So now we come to the next city, which was Lavasa, which came in the year 2000, which was planned in the year 2000. It was termed as a first planned hill city. It was in the state of Maharashtra, and it was planned with a permanent population of 3 lakhs and about 20 lakhs of tourists per annum. It was envisaged that or designed for a tourist population of 20 lakhs. And the area which was started was about 2,800 hectares, which could be expanded to 10,000 hectares. And it was planned by HOK, that is the design consultant from United States. And this figure shows the topography of that land and the forests and the location of the forests and the lake and the other uses of the land, that is the residential, commercial, public and semi-public, amenity, open space, all this is shown. Now what are the salient features of Lavasa? On what was the master plan based on? What were the principles on which it was based on? The master plan was based on the principles of new urbanism. Now what is new urbanism? New urbanism is an international movement to reform the design of the built environment, raising the quality of life and standard of living by creating better places to live, promoting creation and restoration of diverse, walkable, compact, vibrant and mixed-use communities. So based on this principle, Lavasa was designed, and it was also on this principle of transect model. Now transect model is that development which follows a natural pattern of high density core surrounded by successive layers of descending densities and transcending character from urban to rural. You can see this figure which shows the transect model. The first is about a natural zone, the second is about the rural zone, the third is the suburban zone, the fourth is the general urban zone, and the fifth, sixth, seventh are this urban center zone, fifth is the urban center zone, sixth is the urban core zone, and seventh is the special districts. So it is progressively these are it was developed, and as you can see the setting of Lavasa, this entire model was sort of tried to be implemented in the for the city. After the principles, if we try to understand that about the setting of Lavasa, we see that um, Lavasa encompassed 5 nearby villages, that is Dhananohol, Mogao, Dasve, Mose and Sakhari Vadvali. And the development plan is spread over 20 hectares, and it involved dynamic planning in phases. And the township was sensitively integrated with the natural environment. It aimed to provide perfect work and life balance. It wanted to, or it endeavored to house the multiple socioeconomic group, and the water, if you can see from here, uh, how was the water supplied, and so water sourced and supplied, and the water was sourced through rainwater harvesting dams, centralized treatment, 24 by 7 distribution system, and this figure also shows the submergence area uh, of the river. And regarding the effluent, effluent was recycled. There was 100% waste collection. There was high level of public safety and security, and smart city ICT infrastructure, and there was no landfill site. We come to the next sub-city, that is Dwarka, which is in New Delhi. And Dwarka was planned as a sub-city in the year 2004 for a population of 10 lakhs, and with an area of 5,648 hectares in the southwest part of Delhi. It was planned by Delhi Development Authority with a team of eminent experts, academicians from various disciplines. And you can see in this image the development of Dwarka. And the location, as I said, it was in the southwest part of Delhi. And this shows the plan of Dwarka, which shows the residential areas, commercial areas, recreational areas, public, semi-public areas, the water bodies. And now we come to the salient features of the plan. The plan was had 29 sectors, and there was a typical residential sector layout, which is from about a square of 900 by 900, and that is with an area of about 81 hectares. The characteristics of this township, of this sub-city, was basically these sectors were self-contained and was planned to be self-contained, and designed for a population of 30,000 for each sector. And these sectors were bounded on all roads, on all sides by arterial roads, and there was network of cycle tracks, pedestrian paths, which had been proposed within each sector, and which linked the housing clusters and their facilities within each sector. From this drawing, you can see the arterial roads, and then there are feeder roads which connect these arterial roads, which connect these sectors to the surrounding areas. The commercial areas are all planned along the major spine, where the MRTS is also planned. So it is an example of transit-oriented development, and where the commercial spine is connected to the different sectors, and with the arterial roads, which are the major bus routes. So that's how the entire city is covered by public transport, as far as possible covered by public transport. And about 20% of the sub-city area of Dwarka has been planned for the development of green areas, as we can see in this drawing. And then we come to the next city, that is Naya Raipur in Chhattisgarh, which was planned as an administrative city. It was planned in the year 2008 with a population of about 4.5 lakhs and the area of about 23,742 hectares. Out of that, the planning layer 1, that is the city with green belt, is about nearly 10,000 hectares, and which is about 45%, approximately 43 to 45% of the entire area. Then there is the peripheral zone, that is layer 2, which has predominantly rural area with ancillary facilities, that is about 13,000 hectares, and which is about 55% of the total area. And the layer 3 is the airport zone, which is about 1,200 hectares, and this was planned by the Naya Raipur Development Authority. And this figure 1 shows the Naya Raipur, the view of the Naya Raipur, the bird's eye view, and the figure 2 shows the location of Naya Raipur, the state, and the location of Naya Raipur there. And the Naya Raipur plan, as you can see, it is the development is in the center with a peripheral green belt, and the salient features of this Naya Raipur plan is that it is again a gridiron pattern along with the transit oriented development. Now, Naya Raipur was planned as a satellite city to Raipur, holding the capital function. Now, there are 40 sectors in Naya Raipur, and 21 are residential, that can be seen in this drawing. The city's urban fabric was regulated through development control regulations, urban design guidelines, and it's more or less a linear development, grid pattern, but a linear development, which has the industrial areas on one side, the commercial areas in the center, sort of in the center, and along the transit corridor, and then the recreational areas are again free flowing from one part to another part and connecting to the peripheral areas. Then the public, semi-public is again along the transit corridor, and there are water bodies also, which is in the center, and 2 on both sides. So this was a greenfield city. These water bodies were nothing but the 3 big lakes which were developed, and the CBD and the office complex were located in the center of the city to avoid long trips. So the concept of home to work distance was considered, and the gardens and playgrounds were evenly distributed, and 27% of the land was solely devoted to greenery, making it the first greenfield smart city in India. We now come to the GIFT city, which is again an acronym, which is Gujarat International Finance Tech City, GIFT, in Gujarat, and it was developed, or it was conceived as a business city. It was planned in the year 2011 for a population of about 0.4 million working, including 50,000 residents. The area was 359 hectares, and it was planned by Gujarat International Finance Tech City Company Limited, that is GIFTCL, a joint venture company, that is state government through Government of Gujarat, through Gujarat Urban Development Company Limited, and ILFS, that is Infrastructure Leasing and Financial Services. Now, the salient features of the plan was, as you can see, it had a strategic location. It is very near to Ahmedabad, but it was greenfield development, and what is greenfield development? It is greenfield development is planned development on previously undeveloped land with efficient urban planning that aims to provide practical, affordable, and sustainable living spaces for growing urban population. Now, it was the city was conceptualized or conceived as a global financial and IT services hub, and it is if you see the master plan, it is a high quality mixed use district of residential, commercial, and open space facilities that optimize land and real estate values. So we have this is a land use map where we have the residential areas, and it's more or less a linear along the river, and then depending upon the land availability, the shape of the city has come. And there's commercial buildings, and then there's commercial buildings, then there's other, as you can see the percentage which is given here, the residential buildings, the commercial buildings, and the buildings which are used for social. It's largely commercial, as I said that it was a mixed use district, so commercial is at about nearly 70%, with residential is only 20%. So it was for a specific purpose this city came up, and the land use reflects that, and it optimizes the land and real estate values, as you can see, depending upon, because of the purpose of the city. Now, there are other salient features of this township. It has low energy consumption, the way it is planned. It is planned for a zero discharge. The city is also, it has a sewage treatment plant and a sewage treatment plan, and also how to treat the waste, how to collect and treat the wastes. It has a perennial waterfront which is ensured through construction of 3 barrages on the Sabarmati river, and as you can see in the drawing, there are underground trenches, that this figure 7 shows the underground trenches. There are underground utilities. Actually, there's an integrated underground service trench where solid waste is actually, these underground utilities are used for both liquid as well as solid wastes. So it is for the first time that this integrated underground service trenches have been used in our country and applied in our country for this city. Next we come to the recent or the latest city to be built, that is Amravati in Andhra Pradesh, after the bifurcation of the state, and it is being built as a greenfield city, and with the purpose, and it is actually a capital city, so it's a planned capital city. So it is planned in the year 2015, and for a population of 4.5 lakhs, with an area of 21,700. So this figure 2 shows the location of Amravati in the state, and then it is also shows the bird's eye view of the new capital of Amravati, rather Amaravati. And then that is the figure shows the land use plan of Amravati, which was planned by Singapore government, appointed Surbana International Consultants and Jurong. So they planned this city, and the Andhra Pradesh Capital Region Development Authority, which was formed, they received the award for best practices to improve the living environment under the category of urban governance, and they used an innovative methods of land acquisition, we won't say land acquisition, but innovative method of land assembly, and that is the land pooling scheme, where the highlights of this land pooling scheme was that this mechanism is mainly adopted for development of the capital city area, where the land parcels are owned by individuals or group of owners, um, are legally consolidated by transfer of ownership rights to the authority, which later transfers the ownership of a part of the land back to the landowners for undertaking development of such areas. And due to this mechanism, the APCRDA, that is the Andhra Pradesh Capital Region Development Authority, could assemble the land and for the development purposes without any major legal problems. We see that there were three stages of planning, that is the capital region concept master plan. So it talked of it's not only about the city but of the region also was considered. So then we have a capital city master plan, and then we have the seed capital area detailed master plan. So at three levels, this master plan was prepared at these three levels: the capital region, the capital city level, and the seed capital area level. Now there were this master plan also, depending upon the functions of the cities, had 9 thematic functions. One was on government city, that is basically the administrative part, the justice city, then the finance city, the education and knowledge city, the health city, the sports city, the cultural city, the electronic city, and the tourism city. As you can see in this figure, all these cities are have their own places, and for example, the tourism city has more of a greenery and ecotourism and along the river. So that is where the tourism city is positioned, and so each city has its own function and characteristics, and so therefore it is the city has its own characteristic locations. Now we come to the neighborhood concept of Amravati. So the neighborhood concept was also followed in a master plan. There was this this figure shows the typical town layout with a dimension of 2 kilometers by 2 kilometers, and that is about that is to house about 1 lakh of population, and the city was divided into 27 such towns, and with this dimensions, and there were minor arterial roads which dissected each town into 4 parts, and the arterial roads form the periphery of each town. And then we come to the next aspect of Amravati, is that each town is divided into 4 equal parts called neighborhoods. That means each of these 27 towns of this 2 kilometer by 2 kilometer grid was divided into 4 equal parts of 1 kilometer by 1 kilometer with a population of 25,000. So there was a hierarchical planning, and in these neighborhoods followed the neighborhood principles that or the principles of the neighborhood planning, that is primary school, local shopping would be at a walkable distance. And then further, these neighborhoods were divided into 4 equal parts and of dimensions of half a kilometer, 500 meters by 500 meters, with about 6,000 population. And further, these communities were divided into, and these communities or these clusters these communities were further divided into 2 to 4 clusters, and each representing a close-knit society having its own park and controlled access for vehicles. And the cluster size varied from about 15 acres to 30 acres with a population of 1500 to 3000. And if you see, master plan developed as a green and blue city. That was the concept of that it was had a green and blue concept with 51% green space and 10% of water bodies, including a 30-kilometer riverfront. And the layout was planned in the way to allow the maximum flow of wind. The motorized vehicles are not allowed in the core areas of the city, so as to reduce the carbon emissions of the city by 40%. Dear students, today we have learnt about few more cities which were planned in India post-independence with various purposes. We learnt about Navi Mumbai, which was planned as a satellite town of a mega city. We learnt about Noida, which was an industrial town, planned as an industrial town. Then about Lavasa, which is a hill city. Then about Dwarka, which is a sub-city of a mega city, Delhi. Then Naya Raipur, which is basically for administrative purposes. The gift city was a finance and a tech city. And Amaravati, which is as a capital city. So we learned how, who has planned them, how they, what was the salient features, what was the concept on which it was planned, and what were the principles on which planning was done, innovative mechanisms. So thank you.